1419 in the castle of Nottingham, and this travesty of secular traps inside of religious fervour went on for many days before it was determined that the Queen of England be dispossessed of all her properties, including Leeds Castle, excommunicated and jailed. The castle was left in the hands of the Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas Arundel. This might have been considered a bad idea, since he was politically opposed to the king.
The unfortunate upshot of this intervention by the innocent Joan of Naverre was the failure of the Treaty of Troyes. This despite the fact that Henry V was made regent of France. Leeds Castle was thus considered to be the instigator of conflicting powers, and that did not abate in war for the next 3 centuries.
Last time on Counterclimbs, I looked at the progression of Leeds Castle as a solid structure of hate in relation to the wars that surrounded the Plantagenet bid to the throne.
Edward I, inheriting the castle from his bride, the laws of Magna Carta were no longer being adhered to, with Edward II marrying a second time. His wife, Margaret, was frequently regent, and an instance on the residence wall around the bulk of the castle caused a stir. It was impressive in technology for its time and was steadfast by the towers surrounding it. Now, yet more splits between the people and the nobles.
Edward II decided it was advantageous not to give the castle to his wife straight away in 1318, but to hand it to a lesser nobleman instead.
Not a great shift in plans, but a start. Plantagenet England was a diplomat and a potent politician, as well as a seasoned soldier. His stance and enthusiasm for change and social order that Edward maintained, particularly in respect of his heir's right to inherit. This caused constant friction between himself and the royal household, and Queen Isabella was declined the right to visit property which should have been hers.
Edward was very much unlike his father, and such a slight was never taken sitting down. As such, the castle was besieged and Baldomir beheaded. Satisfied at this, king later found himself murdered. Now there's karma for you. Although it wasn't until 1387 that Margaret finally died.
Edward III had the option to pass the estate on to Philip of Hainault. This he did not do, finding himself occupied ultimately by the start of the Hundred Years' War. These fresh dilapidation between England and France necessitated the refurbishment and refortification of the castle, with new drawbridge and outer gates topped off with porticos and apartments in the royal quarters, were also prepared for the opulent Edward.
It was the middle of a turbulent time for the country, and the handful of lawyers were not relenting on their disagreements with the Plantagenets. Richard II decided to relieve the pressure put upon him. He must appease some allies.
In doing so, he changed the martial game and differed from his predecessors by giving Leeds Castle to Queen Anne of Bohemia in 1382. Plague was ripest in the ripest form of disease at the time, and after died, Richard decided to continue to use the tools at his disposal for resolution to the conflict. It was now 1394, and Leeds stood at the heart of these negotiations. Richard's biggest mistake concerning Leeds was presenting it finally as a gift to the loyal parliamentarian Sir Joan of Naverre in 1395.
Being a staunch defender of Henry Bolingbroke's rights when he made his bid for the throne, Sir John had Richard take it from him by force before being thrown in Pontefract Castle.
When Henry Bolingbroke became Henry IV and gave it to his queen, though the next marked event came in 1403 when Joan of Navarre married Henry V and was left with the estate. Joan, unfortunately, given the position of regent during Henry's frequent absence to France, because of this put upon the monarch, was inclined to endow the castle to the Archbishop of Canterbury. Now 1412, Thomas Arundel made sure there were improvements made to the fortifications. Much conflict arose between Joan and her stepson, and this was not improved much when he imprisoned Joan's legitimate son, Arthur of Brittany. French son imprisoned and accused of disrupting the recent Treaty of Troyes, Henry V was forced to have his wife tried for witchcraft.
It was 1419 by now, and despite the fact that Henry was recognised as Regent of France, having won at Agincourt, fragilities were still existent between England and France. Before death, Henry decided to release Joan and allow her back to Leeds.
1422. However, her good fortune was short-lived, as it was bequeathed to Catherine of Blois when the king finally departed this mortal coil. Another example of how people in the home can go out the window when two people have an arrangement, especially when a king is concerned. Perhaps people should consider getting a wolfhound. Then again, it might have its claws drawn, as we have seen.
Next time on County Climbs, I'm looking at Leeds Castle further. In particular, I'm examining how the place was affected during the Civil Wars and the entrepreneurial spirit which affected the estate following that travesty. I also look at the way in which the leisure industry developed there and what future effects it had on the way in which we perceive it today.
Right. Let's get this done. Let's get this done. Okay, I mean, it's just... I'm out of the toilet, for God's sakes. I'm filming outside the fucking toilet. Right. I'm trying to find different places now. Ducks, they were not up to eat. Oh my god. I think people try to call me, I'm not sure. I wouldn't have done all these. It's an incredible thing of doing all these. It's just nuts. Really, look, close up on my face. OB7, OB8, OB9. What's going on here? Everything's falling apart now. Levelling is next.
Get it, boy.